sound of a falling tree. Who hasn't considered, or at least heard, the old question, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there, does it make a sound? If we conduct a quick survey of friends and family, we shall find that the vast majority of people answer decisively in the affirmative. Of course, a falling tree makes a sound. Someone recently replied with a touch of pique, as if this were a question too dumb to merit a moment's contemplation. By taking this stance, what people are actually averring is their belief in an objective, independent reality. Obviously, the prevailing mindset is of a universe that exists just as well without us as with us. This fits in tidily with the Western view held at least since biblical times, that little me is of small importance or consequence in the cosmos. Few consider, or perhaps have sufficient science background for, a realistic sonic appraisal of what actually occurs when that tree falls in the woods. What is the process that produces sound? So, if the reader will forgive a quick return to 5th grade earth science, here's a quick summary. Sound is created by a disturbance in some medium, usually air, although sound travels even faster and more efficiently through denser materials such as water or steel. Limbs, branches, and trunks violently striking the ground create rapid pulses of air. A deaf person can readily feel some of these pulsations. They are particularly blatant on the skin when the pulses repeat with a frequency of 5 to 30 times a second. So, what we have in hand with the tumbling tree, in actuality, are rapid air pressure variations, which spread out by traveling through the surrounding medium at around 750 miles per hour. As they do so, they lose their coherency until the background evenness of the air is re-established. This, according to simple science, is what occurs even when a brain-ear mechanism is absent, a series of greater and lesser air pressure passages. Tiny, rapid puffs of wind. There is no sound attached to them. Now, let's lend an ear to the scene. If someone is nearby, the air puffs physically cause the ear's tympanic membrane, eardrum, to vibrate, which then stimulates nerves only if the air is pulsing between 20 and 20,000 times a second, with an upper limit more like 10,000 for people over 40, and even less for those of us whose misspent youth included ear-splitting rock concerts. Air that puffs 15 times a second is not intrinsically different from air that pulses 30 times, yet the former will never result in a human perception of sound because of the design of our neural architecture. In any case, nerves stimulated by the moving eardrum send electrical signals to a section of the brain, resulting in the cognition of a noise. This experience, then, is inarguably symbiotic. The pulses of air by themselves do not constitute any sort of sound, which is obvious because 15-pulse air puffs remain silent no matter how many ears are present. Only when a specific range of pulses are present is the ear's neural architecture designed to let human consciousness conjure the noise experience. In short, an observer, an ear, and a brain are every bit as necessary for the experience of sound as are the air pulses. The external world and consciousness are correlative, and a tree that falls in an empty forest creates only silent air pulses, tiny puffs of wind. When someone dismissively answers, "Of course a tree makes a sound if no one's nearby," they are merely demonstrating their inability to ponder an event nobody attended. They're finding it too difficult to take themselves out of the equation. They somehow continue to imagine themselves present when they are absent. Now consider a lit candle placed on a table in that same empty forest. This is not an advisable setup, but let's pretend Smokey the Bear is supervising the whole thing with an extinguisher at the ready, while we consider whether the flame has intrinsic brightness and a yellow color when no one's watching. Even if we contradict quantum experiments and allow that electrons and all other particles have assumed actual positions in the absence of observers, much more on this later, the flame is still merely a hot gas. Like any source of light, it emits photons or tiny packets of waves of electromagnetic energy. Each consists of electrical and magnetic pulses. These momentary exhibitions of electricity and magnetism are the whole show, the nature of light itself. It is easy to recall from everyday experience that neither electricity nor magnetism have visual properties. So, on its own, it's not hard to grasp that there is nothing inherently visual, nothing bright or colored about that candle flame. Now let these same invisible electromagnetic waves strike a human retina, and if, and only if, the waves each happen to measure between 400 and 700 nanometers in length from crest to crest, then their energy is just right to deliver a stimulus to the 8 million cone-shaped cells in the retina. Each, in turn, sends an electrical pulse to a neighbor neuron, and on up the line this goes, at 250 miles per hour, until it reaches the warm, wet, occipital lobe of the brain, in the back of the head. There, a cascading complex of neurons fire from the incoming stimuli, and we subjectively perceive this experience as a yellow brightness occurring in a place we have been conditioned to call the external world. Other creatures receiving the identical stimulus will experience something altogether different, such as a perception of gray, or even have an entirely dissimilar sensation. The point is, there isn't a bright yellow light out there at all. At most, there is an invisible stream of electrical and magnetic pulses. We are totally necessary for the experience of what we'd call a yellow flame. Again, it's co-relative.